Boy, can I help you?
Listen up. I'm bringing you the best content to ever exist in the door-to-door industry, from sales, leadership, recruiting, and personal development.
Well, why would I need that?
Because never before have we been able to collaborate with the top experts in their industries, sharing their secrets and techniques on what makes them the best.
Wait, who are you?
I'm your host, Sam Tagger, creator of the DDD Experts and DDD Con. Is there a place we can sit down?
Well, come on in.
What's up, everybody? We're on Facebook Live. This is Paul Reed and Aaron Campbell, two of the biggest beasts in the roofing industry. So if you're watching this and you know Paul, give him a big thumbs up. If you know Aaron, give him some love. Give him like a little share. Be like, what's up, Aaron? And we are on Facebook Live. We're on podcasts. We're on video. We're on everything. So Paul was just rated the #1 most influential man in the roofing industry. So this is a treat. I'm actually in Denver, Colorado right now, and we're going through and kind of understanding and learning about his story, Aaron's story. And the main focus today is really kind of how you leverage your story to inspire others to go do and really do what you've done. And kind of you blazed a trail. You took a bad life and turned it into a good life. I'm excited to kind of dive into that a little bit more. And then you've helped tons of other reps and people kind of do the same, and you've built an awesome business. So we're actually here at their headquarters, Northwest Roofing, and thanks for getting on the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
This will be fun.
Looking forward to it.
This is not typical. A lot of people are like, oh, there's 2 people on the podcast today. So this is like a treat. We get 2 for 1, right? So we're going to kind of dive in, and I'll just kind of go back and forth questions, different people. But I really want to start with you, Paul. Tell us a little bit about how just tell your story, like how you got into the roofing industry. What were you doing before this? And kind of that journey of
Yeah, man. I grew up in, southern Colorado, in a little small town, 700 people, small Mormon community, right? There's 700 people in it, and I was on a farm and ranch. That's what we did. It was one of those things where my dad, you didn't see him. If the sun was up, he was already gone, right? If the sun was down, he wasn't home. He wasn't home yet. So his work ethic from the very beginning, I think that's what came into me. But I started roofing at a pretty young age. I was about 18. My cousin was a roofer, and he got in trouble, and my dad actually told me to go help him, right? My dad sent me out, paid me to help my cousin, and I loved it. So went down that path, and about 15, 18 years ago, started to drink a little bit and got into drugs and a few things. The next thing I know, I was a full-blown meth addict. And so I ran like that for a long time, and as you could imagine, there was life wasn't good, man. Life was tough, and I was roofing, running a construction company, and just really up to no good. I weigh about 240 pounds today, and back then I weighed like 150 pounds. Oh, wow. So you can imagine that. I was, basically half of the person that I am now. Missing part of my teeth, sores on my hands, things like that, and one day I ended up in a mental hospital, right? Just like, how the hell did I get here? And it was my little sister, my other sister, my 3 sisters kind of got me in, right? Took me in there, and that was like the only thing they knew to do with me. So they put me in there. I got out of there, ended up going to a rehab center here in Denver. So that was almost 11 years ago, and that'll be 11 years in August. When I got out of rehab, I was like, man, what do I do, right? Like, here I am, I'm a 30-year-old man, in rehab, I weigh 160 pounds, what the hell am I gonna do? So at that point, it was like, it's roofing, but I can't go home. Yeah. So I started working for this company up here in Denver, and I was making $250 a week up here, and that's where I was supposed to be, right? And I just went from there, man. I'm making $250 a week to now, being part of Northwest Roofing, and we're one of the largest premier companies in the entire United States.
And that's going to feel like, obviously there's a gap between $200 a day and largest roofing companies, you know what I mean? Yeah. So there's a journey there. And when did it finally kind of click? Where was like a turning point where it was like $200 a day? Was it a slow progression, or was it like, boom, it like hit, and I'm like, wow, I just made $2,000 in a day? like, where was that shift of like where you started to see your true potential?
Man, I put my head down, right? Number one, I just put my head down and I went to work, because that was all I knew, was to go to work. And, you know, it just became more and more real after a while, you know, and I'm into this roofing, and all of a sudden you see the financial benefits and the gains that you can do. I've seen some guys going out and they would be getting these commission checks for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 like in a week. And I'd be like, how are they doing that? Like, what are they doing, right? Because I'm just, at this point, I'm just running production. I'm the guy making sure all the roofs are put on. And I'm like, how are these guys doing that?
Yeah.
I could do that. Like, there's nothing about them. I could do that. So that's what I started doing. I got into that more, and it went from there.
So it's kind of a monkey see, monkey do. It's like,
right.
There's other people doing it.
Right.
I could do that too.
Right.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So at what point did you kind of break off and say, I'm running my own thing? And
well, so back, I was with the company when I first got out of rehab, and I was with them for actually 4 years, and I worked into ownership with that company as well. Started out as a profit sharing deal, and I worked from the $200 a week to profit sharing and part ownership of a $30 million roofing company.
Wow.
And that was back in 2012. Myself and that partner, we got a little bit sideways, and we split at that point. And I started my own thing for about 6 months with my wife, Kim, and she's a go-getter. She's a hustler like I am. And we started a roofing company, and out of the blue, I got a phone call from my current partner, Tom, and he's like, hey man, I don't know why I'm calling you, but we need to hook up and we need to work together. And it was just one of those things that I was like, wow, like, all right. I had no idea why, right? And sometimes I still don't, because they're just this bigger, better thing for us. But yeah, that's how I got here, man, 5 years ago. Just a phone call from Tom. It's like, let's partner up, man.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Like, I think a lot of people that are listening to this or watching this, that maybe at a certain point in that journey that we need to speak to. Because, like, you know, there might be people that are like, man, I just got out of rehab. I don't know. You know what I mean? There may be people listening to this making the $200 a day, and like, I just got hired on a door-to-door thing. And it's like, knowing that, like, wow, over 4 years you worked your way into partnership, and over X amount of years now you own a massive roofing company. I mean, it's like, it's inspiring to be like, wow, where you went from. And I'm sure it's like almost a humbling thing to be like reflecting on, this is where I was 15 years ago. Like, no,
I'm a living example, man. If that guy can do it, anybody can, because I was a wreck of a human being. You know, you could ask my family, ask somebody that knew me. No one really wanted to be around me, right? And I wondered why, but that was why I was a wreck. So
that's crazy. And what's crazy is how you've kind of almost duplicated the story with Aaron. So like, you know what I mean? It's one thing to be like, cool, I freaking crush, but it's another thing to be like, I crushed, so then I brought another person in, he crushes. And then it's like, then you did that with more. And it's this duplication process that I really want to speak to today, guys. And I think so many people underestimate the value of how your story and the journey can really inspire somebody to go reach new levels. So I'm going to kind of shift gears to Aaron. Like, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you kind of got into this, and how, you know, I guess maybe where's the parallel, I guess.
Well, I've always had a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit, and wanted to always looking for the next thing to make good money. Kind of always been that way, and I met Tom and Paul just kind of by happen chance. Actually, my wife was doing CrossFit at Tom's wife's CrossFit gym. And it was an all-female place, but they had some co-ed classes. So she's like, oh, come on, you got to come do some workouts with us. I'm like, all right. So she drugged me in there. And that's where I first met Tom. And I think he was driving his, nice car. I forget what he had, his Ferrari or something that there. And I was like, oh, I wonder what he does. Right. And so I got to know him a little bit. I'm like, hey, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm in roofing. I'm like, what? Roofing? One thing
slower than plumbers. Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, oh wow,
the scum.
Like, really?
You're the air. You're that guy. You're that guy, Tom.
But we developed a little bit of a friendship. One thing led to another. Long story short, I came on as a sales rep, And Paul had a huge influence in those early days. And I've only been doing this since 2014, so it's not that long. But he would tell me stories. Like, he would just really dream build with me, which I love, right? 'Cause I like to dream build, visualize something, and then go get it. And he'd tell me stories like, Aaron, I'm telling you, if you take this seriously and you do what I'm telling you to do, he's like, like last year, a couple of buddies of mine, we decided, hey, woke up on a weekend, Saturday morning, like, let's fly down to Florida and do some deep sea fishing. And I love fishing. And so I'm like, man, that would be great. And at that time, I was living paycheck to paycheck, large amounts of debt. I think I had like $30,000-$40,000 worth of debt. And it just didn't, I was like, man, that's what I want. And I think I can do it. And it wasn't easy by any means. The first starting out in roofing is not easy. Like, you really got to grind, and you gotta have the right company to work for, the right mentors, and right. Thankfully I landed at a good place, like right from the get, with good people, honest people, and people like Paul. And I remember early on, they're like, here's your shirt, here's some contracts, like, go knock some doors.
Yeah, right? Put a little like frowny face if that's you and your first experience on this thing, because same thing. It's like, here's your contracts. Good luck, man. Like, what does this do? Like,
yeah, but you know what? I wanted it. I was hungry. I'm like, that's what I got to do. Then that's what I'm going to do. But I was probably like a week into it, probably. And I was knocking around the neighborhood. He was doing a big job, and he's like, go knock around this area. I'll be with you here shortly. And I'm knocking, and I'm like getting no after no, or no. There's no one answering the door. I was super discouraged, and I remember calling Paul up. I'm like, hey, so I got this appointment that this lady just called me. She said, hey, why don't you come look at my roof? And so I'm gonna go. I'm leaving. I'm gonna go check out this roof. And he was like, okay, cool. I'll go with you. And I had totally just made that story up, right? Like, I had a lady that I was working with, but she didn't call me. Like, I was gonna go home and I was gonna cry, because that's what I was gonna do.
Wow.
I had quit a salary job to come do this, and
straight commission,
no, right? Like, and I called up my wife. I'm like, I think I made a big mistake. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. But thankfully he was like, cool, I'll go with you. And I'm like, oh crap, like,
I didn't have a lady call me.
So I called up this lady, and I'm like, hey, so my manager, he wants to come with me to come look at your roof. We want to, are you home by chance? She's like, yeah, I'm home. Come on by. I'm like, whoo, sweet. And so sure enough, he met me over there, and we got up on the roof, and he was like, dude, this is a done deal. Let's call it in. And so he helped me call in the claim. That was my first roofing deal, and it ended up being like a $30,000 roof.
Yeah, we closed her, man. We closed her. Signed it up.
Like, done deal. I was like, wow,
this dude's great, man. Look at him.
And so I was like, okay. I started believing in the dream again. Like, okay, man, he just proved it can be done. And I think after that, we actually went and knocked some few doors in that neighborhood, called in another claim. That was my second roof that I sold. Got that one done. That was a good roof. So he kept me in the business, saved me from myself. Long story short, I mean, now I'm 100% debt free. I've got more money in my bank than I've ever had in my life. And now I'm taking what he taught me, and I'm helping teach other people in the industry to do the same.
Right. So I want to speak to a few points that you made in that were like, that stood out to me. And one of them is that moment where, I guess you kind of had to just man up. You know what I mean? Totally. Like, there was a point where it's kind of like, oh shoot, I was about to go cry, and then there's the shift of like, I need to make something happen.
Right.
Yep.
And I think a lot of us hit that in our career. And whether you're a veteran or a manager or a first year rep, as they get to this point where it's like, I'm gonna go home and cry, or I'm gonna figure out a real solution real fast because the pressure is on.
Oh, absolutely.
And you naturally just put this unknown pressure that you didn't even know.
I didn't know that story till like a year ago.
Yeah, and
I was like, I remember that lady.
That is awesome. But it's like, I think so many times we're in these situations that are almost like we'll call them life or death situations, but you burnt your ships. You quit the job. You left, and it's like you had to go tell your wife, like, I made a bad mistake, and then you said, I'll figure it out. And I think that's powerful. And then I also think like what you did with like saying, hey, let me go with you.
Right.
How many times does a manager just be like, hey, good luck with that. Like, just make sure that you just go over this close and hey, just be confident, man. You got this.
Right.
Versus the manager that's like, let me go with you.
Well, I think at that point too, Aaron, like most people, like me, you're looking for someone, right, to mentor you to that next level, right? And I think that's what he was looking for at that point, and it connected from that day, and flourish. Yeah,
I mean, you both was it your first or second year? How many what was the year you did over 200 and something roofs?
That was 2015.
So your second year.
That was my first full year. Yeah.
So over 200 and something roofs installed.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's that would be equivalent. So if you're going to door-to-door con, that is the mark. 200 roofs installed is the door-to-door Golden Door Award. So, you would have been almost your first full year able to do that, which many roofers probably never would be able to say they can't.
No, and I wouldn't have been able to do it by myself either. But again, like I had somebody showing me the way, right? Like Paul's work ethic was, second to none. And he was always like, I may not be like the smartest or the best closer, but I'll outwork you any day of the week. And so all I did was just listen to what he said and put my nose to the grindstone and grind it out every single day in and day out, all year long. We'd
be in the neighborhoods a lot of times, and first thing in the morning, Aaron's there, right? So here comes the rest of the guys during the day, and then all of a sudden it's 6, 7 o'clock, guys are gone. Look up, and I'm over here on this roof, and Aaron's over there, right? That's the difference.
And that's probably such a fun feeling to be like up on a roof and see another dude like 5 streets over on a roof. Mm-hmm. What's up, man? And I think there was something that you said that hit me, and it gets to a point where money, when you do $3 million in a year and you crush and you're making great money, there's a point where it's like money isn't the motivator at that point. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like there has to be a bigger, and I love the quote Tom said when we were jamming yesterday, it was like it's not a $5 or a $50,000 check doesn't make my heartbeat change.
Right.
Now, I have a Ferrari. I did that, and if it's a $5 check or a $50,000 check, it doesn't beat. It beats the exact same.
Yeah.
And there became a point where you told me, you said, "Hey, that feeling of when he came to me and said, look, I have 19 grand on my bank." Tell me about that. Like, I want you to tell me about that moment.
That was one of my biggest victories that I've ever had, like as a manager, as an owner, or whatever. Aaron came to me, a couple of years ago, and he looked at me, kind of pulled me aside, and I could tell it was like there was something like super exciting, like, maybe his wife's pregnant, like what, right? You could tell he's excited. And he's like, man, dude, get this. I've got $19,000 in my bank account. I've paid all my bills. I don't owe any money. I've got $19,000 in my bank account, right? And I'm just like, dude, I love it. We got 19. That's what it's about, right?
Yeah.
He had that, and it was just one of the greatest feelings ever. It's so cool, when we see people come in all the time, and they come in and you do all these great things for them, and sometimes they don't follow this path that you put out, and they're gone, right? And it's like, it's heartbreaking. It's truly heartbreaking when it happens. And so those victories that you do get, like when this guy has $19,000 in his bank account, you're like, yeah, this is what it's about. It's cool.
And so you had a story similar this year. You had a guy, Blake, that came into the organization, and it was like, you told me, hey, this is what you need to do, Blake, and kind of tell me about like how you modeled the same model that Paul did for you, what you did for him that seemed to work and get similar results.
Yeah, well, and I have the same thing. Like want to see these guys succeed. Like that's a big part. Like I've done it, and I'm not buying. I haven't made it by any means, but I've got a long ways to go. But guys that come in and they hear the same dream that he sold me, and they come in and they want to do the same thing. It's a big deal to me that they succeed also. And so one of the guys, Blake Holmes, cool dude. He came in and he was hungry, looking for an opportunity, and he basically did the same thing I did. I said, look, here's what you're going to have to do. Here's what you're going to have to, sacrifice or give up. And this is what it's going to look like. And we used to do mission statements. We'll still do, but with all the new guys, make them write out exactly what they want and help them visualize that whole thing. And so we did that with him, and he just did it. Like anything we told him to do, he was, humble and hard worker. He just did it. And his first year, he sold over 2 million. Same thing.
So I think the biggest issue, and it's interesting because a lot of people are moving into this season, right? They're moving into the summer season, the hail season, the summer, like whatever it is, whatever you're selling. And I think the biggest problem, if you're a rep listening to this, they tend to say, well, I'm going to do it my way. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that in your guys' business where reps come in and they're like, well, he did it that way, but I'm not like him.
Oh, yeah.
And what tends to happen in those situations?
They're gone. They're a flash in the pan. Really. They don't make it.
I see it all the time. They come in and we're like, this is a proven model, right? And they're like, yeah, it's a little too hard, right? It's too much work. It's embarrassing. It's painful, and there's a lot of fear in it, and they're gone. It never works. And
a lot of times it's this, as we did training for you guys, we talked on the survival tactics. That was one of the pieces we talked, and it was like, we always want to be right. We always want to be in control. We always want to be comfortable. We always want to be, avoid pain, right? And look good. And it's like these natural tendencies, and I guarantee some of these people listening to this don't understand, like, they're going through the survival tactics, and it's like the natural, I want to be in control, I want to be right, so I'm going to do it my way, and I want to avoid some pain, so I don't want to do the hard things. I'm going to try it and get creative. How many times have you heard like, oh, why don't we just call a builder and just like do all of his roofs? And like, you know what I mean? Let's get creative and try this and chase this dream and this and this. And it's like, yeah, you're still not getting any results. Like I told you how we do our business. Here's the roadmap. If you just would have done what Blake and what Aaron and what Paul did, because we're coming from a position of we want you to succeed.
Yep.
How much more powerful would like the organizations run? How much more success would we have in these reps if they just were humble enough to be like, drop the ego and just do what I tell you, man?
A lot.
Like, and it's not coming from like us and ego, right?
Right.
Like it's not like you're saying like, oh, my way is the way. It's like, no, I'm trying. Like we want the best.
No, when we get to the point like where we're at, like we truly want to see this next guy succeed, right?
Yeah.
We're like, follow this path. Do what we do what I did. And check how this is going to be, man.
I think, I mean, and that's something so important that we really wanted to touch on in this initial, coming into the season, is it's like, let's not fight what works. I think it's a big focus of like DD University and like what we try to teach and what we're, like that's why we really aligned. Is it was like, wow, fun to come in and see these principles that you guys have kind of laid down. Like, when we first dove into the business and you guys told us your vision and your whys and your guidance, your guiding principles, and it was like, that's awesome. Like if people could just live by this and you have that, where I bet you 80% of companies don't even know what their why is. They don't even know what their guiding principle is. They don't even know what they're like need to be talking about.
At least 80%.
Yeah, I would say at least.
Yeah.
So I guess real quick, share with us like what's your mantra? What's your three? Like tell us kind of or tell these people like what drives you guys? What's your thing?
Well, we came to the point to where we realized we had to really solidify what our core values were, right? We got everybody, whether they know it or not, they have core values that they live by, where they operate their business on.
And I resisted for.
He did. He's like, no, we don't need core
I was
values.
like, we
I'm
just
like,
kind of
no,
fly
we-
by the seat
just
of our
go
pants.
sell.
Yeah, go hard, go fight,
sell.
win. Let's go, guys.
We have core values, and it took a while for us to go through the discipline of and the whatever you call it, the way to figure that out, right? And eventually we did, and we figured it out. And we're driven, right? And straight from him, like all the way down through, like that's the first thing, is that we're driven individuals, self-motivated, like we want to win.
We're
gonna
win.
show up.
Love it.
Right?
Yeah.
We're all in. We're all in for each other. We're all in for the industry. We're all in for our customers. And we're extraordinary. We do extraordinary things. I mean, we've got reps here putting down numbers that are absolutely extraordinary. That's who we are.
It is.
That's how we operate.
We've made a belief system here. If you go to most roofing companies in the entire United States, and they said, you ask them what does a great roofing salesman do? They'll say, they do about $1 million a year, right? And my model is, have your $1 million guy. I don't even want him, right? I don't even want that guy, because we're above that. That room that's right here, that's called the $6 million room. And you can't be in that room unless you sell $6 million. There's 5 people that I have in that room, right? And that's because that's our belief system. Those are our core values, that this is our culture, this is our company, and we're not average people, right? Because we're extraordinary. Well,
I love that.
Yes, that's who we are.
And I think so many people never even take a day to define their identities, their core values.
No.
And we operate identityless. It's like, how fun is that? And like, who are you? It's like, well, we just are roofers, and we don't have a we exist because of statement,
Right.
or our core values are X. And I think another principle, you have these core values, and then it was cool, like almost, I don't know if you called it your mission statement or whatever Tom was saying, and he's like, this is how we run our business, is we do X, Y, Z. Do you remember kind of what he was saying there? With like, we treat entrepreneurs, and we make, we pay our people like.
Well, it boils down to, like, if you're losing, I'm losing, right? We both got to be winning. That's the bottom line. It always comes up, like almost every conversation we always have, that we both have to be winning, meaning ourselves and the guys. And that's our value of it, because a lot of people, a lot of corporations, a lot of companies, it's pretty one-sided. The scale is not balanced. And here, what we try to do is we keep it balanced.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Well, to kind of wrap up, this is what it was. It was treat them right, pay them right, and train them. That was it. I was like, Jones over here in the background was like, I know it. It was teach them, train them, and pay them. And I think so many people fail at those 3 things. You know what I mean? It's like,
Well, you got to pay him.
we treat them right, train them right, and pay them right.
Right.
Super simple. So I kind of want to wrap up, because we're going to dinner, and I'm sure your wife's sitting there like, we got reservations. We're going with
ready.
Kim. Give a big shout out for Kim. Like, if you're watching this,
Reed.
yeah, Kim Reed.
Love you.
Gotta give her some love.
Right, gotta hear some
We'll
love.
give Mia some love too. He is awesome. We've actually got to know Mia a lot
Right.
more than we didn't even see Kim.
Yeah.
We're gonna go to dinner. But no, one thing that I always do at the end of my podcast, I say, if you had to give the whole door-to-door industry, the whole direct sales industry, one piece of advice, what would it be?
Man, I tell you what, my piece of advice was, I didn't really start growing as a human being, as a man, as a roofing company owner, until I really let my guard down and got rid of my ego and my pride, and I started reaching out to guys like you with, your D2D, to other organizations there are, because the fact of the matter is I don't know it all, right? Like, I know very little, but this next guy next to me, he may know a lot. So I started asking a lot of questions. So to me, man, ask questions all the time. All the time.
It's so funny. We talked at Win the Storm and IMG when we spoke there and had our booth or whatever.
Right.
We talked to so many roofing companies, and like, how many guys do you have? Oh, there's like 3 of us. How much do you do? Like 3 to 4 million or 2 million or whatever. And it's like, they're like, oh no, we got it. But it's the company that's doing 20 to 30 million that's hiring us. It's like that's where I think people don't click, right? It's
right.
the people that are sucking continue to suck because they're not willing to invest in themselves to just so hire somebody that can bring some new perspectives.
Well, they got just rich enough. They went and bought a boat last year,
And they
right?
feel
And
like
they owe a bunch of money on it, but they feel like they're winning, and they don't know any better, right? Because that pride and ego, man.
I'm so glad you said that. And I mean, that's like, and we're super grateful you hired us to come out here and just give some perspective. We've learned a ton from you, but
dude,
like,
it's been great having you. We've learned so much.
Yeah, if you feel like, I mean, I thought it was a good,
amazing value.
it's cool. So I mean, and it's like, what, these two Utah kids that know nothing about roofing come out and just blow minds about roofing. We went and knocked. So a little fun plug. Aaron and I go and we're on roofs yesterday. I mean, literally, I'm like, I've never pitched a roof. Let's go do it. And what happened?
Got on a bunch of roofs.
We got on a bunch of roofs.
Yeah.
I'm like, here's how I
Snowing. It was cold.
And a lot of people in that room were kind of like, we're going out, like it's snowing and it's not been a hailstorm in a while and blah blah blah. And it's like, come on. In a matter of an hour and a half, we had like 6 leads from like our little posse, and it's like, what if we did that every day? So I'm gonna give a big like call out to the roofing industry as a whole. Hate me, give me a thumbs down. If you're gonna hate this, great. I don't care. But I'm personally kind of like, you guys are you're like underachieving what the entire like game could be.
You're right.
It is literally like your potential as an industry is here, and I haven't yet to see anybody really say, oh, let's go master retail from a door-to-door program. Let's go master like year-round. Not like, oh, we play game for 4 months and then we kind of like go to Bali for 8. Like, come on. And I'm like calling out the industry as a whole. Shoot me if you want, but like there's a new level that you guys can go play at, and that's why I'm actually appreciative you guys like saw that in us and that we can help you get there. Like that honestly is like powerful. So sorry to steal the show, but you, Aaron, what's the one piece of advice? Because I agree. I think.
It was real in line with what Paul was saying. I think the biggest thing is set your pride aside. Just acknowledge that you don't know what you don't know, and find a mentor that has what you want, and go and learn and do what they do, and then just do it, crush it on every day. Outwork everybody in your circle, and keep your why big enough to push you all the way through, and go get it. It's there every day.
All right.
Cool. Let's wrap on that. But thank you guys for watching and listening. Thank you guys for giving so much value. If you like this, share it. If you're listening to podcasts, like post this on your Facebook or something, because this is like powerful stuff from 2 of the biggest thought leaders in the entire industry. So this is like a treat for me. Like I've just been like soaking and sponging like all from you this whole weekend. So this has been fun. Okay. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.